I've had several clients ask me over the last 2 weeks about the government's budget. Their challenge that they are having is that they're seeing invoices pushed out farther and farther. And there's projects that they thought RFPs would be out by now. The RFPs are not necessarily getting pushed out, but there's literally no word on this stuff. And so when you start to see invoices being pushed back, projects either being pushed back or in limbo or literally no word whatsoever, and things like that going on, the question always comes up, what's going on? Where's the money? What's going on with the government and all this stuff? And for new companies, this is sort of a new cycle, but it's also happening for companies that have been around for a while, and they're like, Mike, what's going on this year? And I think for a lot of folks, when we saw things like the infrastructure bill and that sort of stuff, it was like, oh, there's this money that the government's going to start spending right away. And I did a video on that, was it back in November or something, around the infrastructure bill? And the one thing that I noticed that was consistent on almost everything in there was that the government had anywhere from 3 to 6 months, maybe even 9 months in some cases, before they had to allocate any of that money. Think about that. That's almost a whole year before they had to allocate any of the money. There were some programs in there where they didn't have to have an undersecretary assigned to it for 6 to 9 months. And then within the next 6 to 9 months, they would actually be rolling out the budget and that sort of thing. So the infrastructure bill is one of those things that can really be a challenge for folks where you thought money was going to come in, but it's going to be in limbo for this really, really long time. Then we have the challenge where the government can't seem to come up with a budget to save their life. This happens every single year. It comes down to the wire and they say, let's just kick this can down the road 2 weeks. Let's kick the can down the road another month. Let's kick this can down the road into March. Well, guess what? It's March, at least when I'm recording this video. And so now we've got to deal with this. But guess what's happening? If they haven't signed any type of spending gap bills or anything like that, every office is on edge. And every office is saying, well, let's hold on to the cash we have, because what if the government shuts down? Because the government occasionally shuts down. And so, hey, let's just push this out 2 weeks, whatever this requirement is, that requirement. Let's push that out a couple of weeks and let's get through this and see what's supposed to happen in Congress, because they're supposed to sign a bill on this date, and we'll see what happens. And you can just repeat that exact same language for months on end. So anywhere from, I don't know, maybe even August to March, April timeframe, the government goes into this weird budgeting cycle where they're prepping for October 1. There's the threat that they're going to shut down the government. Then sometimes they do. And then they pass these tiny bills to get them a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. And we deal with that as contractors from October 1 anywhere until maybe even March or early April. What I'm seeing right now is money is starting to come out. So this is March 1st, 2020, when I'm recording this. Money is starting to trickle down. But also think about that. If the Army gets a budget and it just gets turned on, it doesn't trickle down to everywhere in the Army on the same day. Things slowly roll out. The government is really, really slow. I can't think, like, it is one of the slowest organizations at rolling those things out. And so, while as painful as that is, it's just the nature of this game sometimes. So the money's just taking time to trickle down to all those different areas. So depending on how up in an agency you're working, that may determine when that money gets turned on. If you're kind of at the higher echelons of that organization, maybe it gets turned on for you earlier than somebody who's way down in the ranks doing a project that's, for an office out in the remote, whatever, and it's not super important. You also got to think, we're literally on a war footing at the moment. There's a lot going on besides just getting the infrastructure bill money out and the regular budget money out and all those kind of things. There's a lot of speculation of what's going to happen. And so guess what that does? People come into a room, they have a meeting, and again, I just said this before, it's like on repeat. They say, hey, well, let's kick this requirement down the road 2 weeks. Contracting officers, program managers, all those people mirror the exact frustration that we get from Congress. They do. And it's not because they're trying to mirror it. It's because they're in limbo. And so it trickles down. Again, it's not their fault. It's just kind of what is happening to them. So they get around these tables, they get in a meeting and say, hey, we're going to kick this 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Hey, this is a priority, and I don't care what's going on in the world. We need to get this project going. We need that RFP to go out. We need to pay these people or whatever it may be. The short answer is the government's going to get around to a lot of those things, probably 99% of the things that you're looking at. But we're just in this time of year where it's frustrating on where the money is. And as soon as Congress gets done with some of these bills and budgets and all that kind of stuff, you'll see even more money start to trickle out. But that's really what we're waiting on. That's where the money is right now. It is in the bureaucracy of the trickle down, if you will, as well as all of this other stuff going on. And if we don't get those things signed, then they don't want to have executed on a contract or committed to something, and then now we've got to do stop work orders and all that kind of stuff. So they're really trying to save you a lot of time and energy, but we're just kind of stuck in limbo a little bit on a lot of this stuff. That said, like I said previously, I am seeing money start to come out for more people. So expect that over the month of March and April, we're going to see money come out. And this is also what kind of leads into a big Q4 spend sometimes. The longer money gets caught in this cycle, the bigger buildup we see for a Q4 spend. So right now, think about that. Money's going to start getting, or has been getting pushed to the right, pushed to the right, pushed to the right. They've got to spend it. So I'm guessing this year we're going to see some really big numbers in Q4 spending. So if you have questions about this, as always, you know how to reach me. We'll see you next time.